And welcome to StarryTelling. This is where we explore the stories, the myth, and the magic of the starry skies and your connection to it all. And my name is Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub. I am here with Sacred Astronomer and Astrologer Gemini Brett, our celestial navigator. And today we're going to be going into some StarryTelling mode and talking about the marriage of heaven and earth. So Brett has some really great epic stories for us here today. Before we go there, I wanted to make sure that all of our StarryTelling listeners know that class starts this week for Sacred Astronomy for Astrologers. Brett's so excited, and he's been working so hard on this, and it's going to be an incredible experience. It already is. So for this, we don't always have study groups that correspond with our courses, but for this course we do. And we have this vibrant group of students already connecting and so excited about class. And I wanted to read just a couple of things that were shared in the group to all of you, because it so perfectly encapsulates the kind of person that Sacred Astronomy for Astrologers is perfect for. Okay, so I'm going to read this first one from Natalie. Natalie says, the thought of being able to do astrology without computers and just with the naked eye truly called to me as a way to connect deeper with the planets and understand the science from a whole new perspective. I'm so excited to start, and I'm grateful to be in this group with everyone. Okay, and then this one from Sandy. I just love being in the night, being with the night. It has been my best friend through challenging times in my life. To understand that friend more deeply is an invitation I couldn't resist. Gemini Brett's devotional heart speaks to my own, and I delight in the joy he brings to teaching. He seems like such a gentle and humble soul with such a deep, deep knowledge and sensitivity to the beings we share this cosmos with. Feeling privileged to have such a teacher and a guide. So I just love these. I know, Brett, right? You must be blushing. But a couple things here. Being able to step away from the computer and connect with nature directly and have this call where we can marry astrology with our love of nature. Most people that are drawn to astrology also love the sky and love being outdoors and the elements. So this enables us to do this and be learning and practicing. And then what Sandy says, so many times I hear when I speak to people throughout the many interviews I've done and in our community, who say they have felt this deep connection to the sky since they were little children. You know, from that early time in their life, it was like, there's something there for me. Either that, and sometimes it's even like, there's more for me there than there is here on this earth. And I know that that's truly my home. But it's just beautiful to see that this is the kind of student who's really perfect for this class. So I just wanted to offer those things, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Well, blushy, cryy. So thanks so much, friends. And yeah, I'm just so excited. We've got hundreds of students that are going to be gathering together. And then this is like going to spread like wildfire, which I'm just so happy about. It's just it's so much alignment with my own devotion of just reconnecting. I hear from astrologers often like, oh, that's what first brought me to this. And kind of like this, and I miss it.
Yes.
Energy, right? So,
yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just been recording a lesson a few days ago about how constellations are actually terrestrial, not celestial, right? So stars are celestial, but the way that we see them together and draw lines between them, that's like totally an earthly thing, or at least like solar system. Like Mars is going to see the stars very similar to how Earth does. Though Mars has his own zodiac, his own orbital plane, as I will be teaching in the course. That's not a commonly agreed upon thing, but I'm sure it's true and I will prove it. But, you know, if you go out to Mintaka, which is one of the stars of Orion's belt, clearly you don't see Orion's belt from that place, right? Like constellations are terrestrial. So in that sense, when we learn these stars, like, you know, in the way that they connect, and then where the signs align and what the signs do, like you're actually getting more grounded. So it's crazy. Like I'm a very, higher chakra, airy mind, monkey mind kind of person. I like to talk, as we all know. But getting outside and looking up helps me get down. It helps me get into my body. It helps me understand like where I am engaging with the cosmos from, and as I like to share, like Earth is the most important planet that we chose. So you have to forgive me. I'm a little starstruck right now. I just had a short reading with a musician that I'm a huge fan of. And yeah, she's in a band, right? And so I know the band's name. I don't know everybody that's in the band's name. Doesn't mean I'm not a fanboy. And anyway, after she told me she was in that band, it was done. I was like, look, I literally have to end this reading and we're going to continue another time because I need to like come in grounded because I literally listened to one of her albums more than any other record ever.
That's amazing.
Right. And so now
how does she find you?
And she's on her mobile phone and I'm like, great. Like she's like, I hope you don't mind that I'm outside because, and she turns around and she's in Iceland and the volcano is exploding there right now. And she's like, in this, it's deep. It hasn't been here since like 7,000 years. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because I was just staring at her chart. Okay. So I'm not going to share her name, but I'm going to share these details, just a few details about her chart because it helps me get grounded. And it's a game that I like to play. Anybody in the study group who's introducing yourself and sharing your sun, moon, and rising sign. We did this a bit last week. It's really helpful for me to see those things. And also if I know where somebody was born, I can kind of tune into the scene of their birth. I don't know what the weather was doing, which is a big deal. I don't know what animals were around, which way the wind was blowing from. And in some of the old Hellenistic charts from a couple thousand years ago, you get that. The wind was blowing from the northeast. The leaves were this color. These birds were singing at the moment of this birth, like that kind of, right? Like I want that on charts. I want more earth in charts, right?
Amazing.
So anyway, before we connect, I'm looking at the chart. She's Leo rising. So I'm like, all right, fire. And it's a Taurus moon reflecting Capricorn light. So I'm going to tell people, and I'll be sharing this in the course, like the sun is not the only one, but the sun is the only one that will tell you where in the year somebody was born and where in the day somebody was born. And this woman was born with a Capricorn sun in Iceland. So that doesn't only mean long nights. It means real long nights, right? Because like 60 plus degrees north of the equator, right? So it's like barely any light in Capricorn time then, right? So I'm seeing the sun in the 6th house, and it's a little bit different than a 6th house sun for somebody born like in California or Hawaii, where it's still really light. It's like, no, there were like a few hours of light during this day. And this is just like a deep kind of winter icy vibe, right? And then there's this giant, beautiful Taurus moon on high. So first of all, how did I know, that it's dark out? Well, the sun's in Capricorn, but Leo rising. So if Leo's rising, this means Aquarius is setting, and Capricorn is the sign that sets before Aquarius, right? So I want to get out of the chart or get into the chart and learn to see the world in it. Learn to see the moment of this being's becoming. What seasonal energy did they choose, both by the year and by the day? And of course, Capricorn behaves differently in, Australia than it does in North America, whatever, right? And so especially in Iceland, it's a whole different story, right? And so Leo rising, we're like seeking light, we're seeking fire, right? But we're in the depth of the earth and like the dark of the night, and the Taurus moon on high, so bright, so beautiful, this waxing gibbous moon, because that's how Taurus reflects Capricorn. There's like these long shadows of clouds allowed. And so there's this like night light show, this like mysteries of the night. And there's just music all over in this chart, right? So we connect and I'm like, oh, Iceland, I can't wait to go there. Like I'm a huge fan of this band and this band and this band. And then later, first of all, she turns around and she's like, yeah, so I'm at this volcano. I was like, what? And like literally running lava. Perhaps some of you guys have connected online today and seen that there's this amazing volcano happening. And so I was there, like remote, right? I was like, oh my gosh, we're at the volcano. And already I was looking at her chart and I was seeing this scene of this moonlight during the day and this beauty, Taurus, reflecting the wisdom and the salt of the earth, like the voice of the mountain and the ice, you know what I mean? And so she's out at night and it's dark, but then Leo rising and there's literally this rising fire out of the ground. And of course it's the volcano where all of these elements are seen, it's fire, water. And as you know well in Hawaii, Amanda, like it's going to find its way to water and it will become earth and steam will release. I mean, it's one of the only places where we can see all four of these elements as we speak of them today, right? So this morning I woke up starting to record chapter 2 for the course, which is the Cross of Matter. And I started by playing some saxophone and I'm speaking about the four and what it is to come into matter and why we have four elements, four directions, like a lot of this fourness. And then I spoke with our Rick Levine for some time and we spoke a lot about the harmony of the heavenly spheres. And then I was like, I had this one short reading today before the StarryTelling. And so I'm suddenly at a volcano. And then I'm looking at her chart and there's all this Libra. And I'm like, I hope you're an artist. She's like, oh yeah, I'm in that band that you just talked about or was. And I was like, what? I was like, did you play that tour in Portland and Seattle? She's like, yeah. And so it's like we were talking. So then it was just like, look, I can't like do astrology right now. I'm in full fanboy mode. And when we come back, I promise I will be grounded. But I just want to like let you know how perfect this scene is for your chart. And so I'm so glad we like got to connect here. It like literally is like the essence of this moment of your soul and this like coming fire. Right. And so I was just like reschedule. I'm not an astrologer right now. I'm a crazy fan. Anyway, so I'm connecting with you, Amanda, very shortly after getting off a Volcano line with this amazing musician. And I'm in a weird space. So
it's great. It's nice to see you there. And now you're bringing the volcano energy in for all of us. I know that relates with our topic today too. And Brett, before we move to that though, I just want to make sure that anyone who is considering the course has the link. So it's astrologyhub.com/astronomy if you are interested in joining. With all Astrology Hub courses and memberships and all the things that we offer, there's always a period of time where you can try it and make sure that it's right for you. So there is a 7-day period up for this course. You could hop in, try the first lesson, meet your friends in the group, see if this is the right fit for you. If it's not, you can opt out within 7 days and get all of your money back. So I just want you to know that you can try it and see. I know you're going to love it, but just because we only want the people there that want to be there. It's not about trapping anyone in a course. So we'd love to have you check that out. Again, that's astrologyhub.com/astronomy course. The course begins on Thursday. So even if you join us late, we're not going to close it on Thursday, but we are starting Thursday. So the first module will be released on Thursday. If you want to join it and follow along in real time, it'd be great to get in then or before then. And there's some bonuses sitting in your library right now when you join. So anything else you want to say about
it? Some bonus.
Yeah,
today, the last few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is on one level, like study at your own pace. The chapters, there's going to be 6 chapters, so 6 weeks, and each chapter has 7 lessons of like kind of shorter transmissions, 15 to 25 minutes each. And then they each are accommodated by some quiz questions that will just really help you integrate that lesson before you move on to the next one. And so if you are taking the course, please, I really invite you to do the quiz questions before you move on. It's just going to really help you center in and keep it. there's going to be like a book that kind of comes out of it, or a glossary that people are going to like earn as they move through the course. Then, you know, now you get this, instead of just this huge thing to like read in all these terms before you know what they are. But many people don't want to study at home at their own pace. We're just all doing so much. So what we're also doing is like a watch party before the weekly live Q&A. So it's going to be kind of a marathon day, but that's how I teach when I teach at retreat. You know, we're in the classroom for 5 hours, and then we eat and play, and then we go out under the stars and learn constellations and signs and stuff, right? And how we see it in the sky. So what we're going to do is the chapters are all going to be released on Thursday, but then it's the next Wednesday before the next chapter drop, where we have a watch party. And so that's just like come in and we play, and we're going to have the comment stream open so people can connect and ask questions and share their experiences and whatever. And then we'll take a break, and then we'll go into a live Q&A period. And so that will be more that kind of like, oh yeah, we're gathered together in the classroom. And, you know, this is the few hours. It's going to be 2.5 hours of lessons, and then a break, and then 2 hours of Q&A or something like that.
If you want that. Yeah. So if you're like, oh gosh, I can't do that, my schedule won't accommodate it, you can also watch the lessons at your own pace. So it's up to you either way. I love this. Cindy says, I saw 3 of the bonuses, and today I saw 2 of the bonuses.
Right on. Yeah. So the bonuses, by the way, because there is that part when I teach this at retreats where we're then out under the sky together. And sometimes the weather doesn't let us play anyway. Usually we have these retreats at good weather places, but it's beautiful to be there and offer these transmissions directly. But when I'm out with a group of like 30, 40 people, it's really hard to point to things in sky because our eyes are so far apart from one another. So we use these terms. I have like a laser pointer, but I really don't like to shoot lasers at Saturn or whatever. It's not cool, you know? So what I'm doing now is I'm creating these backyard videos where I literally just, my camera's on in my backyard. It's not a dark sky space, but most of you aren't in super dark sky stuff anyway. We can still see a lot of stars. And I'm just using my finger in front of the lens. I'm like, okay, and there you go. And there's this. And this is how we get from this constellation to this constellation. And so that's like bonus, because of course, we only have so much time. Some of the students are going to be crazy passionate and like this is their thing. Some people like this is another thing to add to their stuff. And so I want to create this course in a way that's different for, you know, it can be approached in different ways. If you like study at home at your own pace, you got it. If you like getting together in the classroom for a designated point of time, you've got it. If you really want to do kind of the extracurriculars, you're absolutely got it too. There's going to be a lot of information. And, you know, this isn't something you completely learn in 6 weeks. You know, this is me introducing you to the approach that is then now opening or further opening, because you've been living it since day one, you know, your ability to receive the mysteries of the sky directly. Like that's the thing. So anyway, and you know, we live in this like symbolic realm. Like today was just a music day for me. You know, I woke up, I like got my good saxophone out of the closet. I wanted to like join the music that I've been using for this course and speak about the musical metaphor, which helps us understand how we get here as souls. So astrologyhub.com/astronomy, yes, especially if you want to be efficient with your keyboard, but also astrologyhub.com/sacred astronomy will get you to the same place. And I'd prefer you to type that, because it's very important for everyone to know that this is not the astronomy of the modern day universities. It is the mystery school astronomy. It is the old school approach, as much as I can feel it and awaken it in my own self. This is another tool, like what we call astrology, to assist the philosopher in asking these important questions like, who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What is this place? And of course, there will be scientific information too, but a lot of this is going to be about the StarryTelling and the music of the spheres, which is inspired by Daniel's question I see down here. Are you still composing natal chart music? Yes, and I should say I do not compose it, but my dear friend Eric Deutsch and I have a project called Song of the Soul, which you can also find at astrologyhub.com/song of the soul, where I take a birth chart and I create musical harmony correspondences with significant energies in the birth chart, where the planets are in the signs. Those give me notes, how they relate to one another, or what we call aspects in astrology. Those give me harmonies. I then dream into some like symbolic kind of production notes, and I send a sheet to Eric, and he creates and channels forth like a 12-minute song. And both of these things, I add that because it really speaks to my devotion, which is to find ways more and more to honor the astrological language by also bringing it out of the mind and into the body mind, because between the head and the body is the heart, and that's where the art of the chart starts.
So exciting. It's so great, Brett. We are, thank you to all the students who have already joined and they've identified themselves. They're saying, I'm already in, I'm so excited. Welcome to the course. And for those of you that are considering it, just maybe give it a try and see if it's for you. And let's go to the topic, Brett. So we're talking about the marriage of heaven and earth.
Yeah, and there's many versions, right, in the great starry stories from around the world. One of them involves volcanoes and furies, and it's a little heavier, so I'm going to start with a different one. I'm wondering, Amanda, should I tell the adult version or like tone it down a little bit?
Oh,
what do you feel that the podcast crowd is?
Do you bring your children here? I don't know.
Well, I mean, some people will have at least their kids. I'm going to tone it down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, and there's in some of the Egyptian stories, or from Kemet, which is the land that we've come to call Egypt, Amun Ra. Amun Ra was the first, and his name has been preserved in words like Amen. And if you've been to the temples in Egypt, you know Amun Ra is quite a figure to behold. Let me just say that he typically stands quite erect. Okay, and so he's said to have been the first here when it was chaos and the world covered in the waters, and that the Benben stone, the first land, came to greet the coming of Amun Ra. And through very interesting creative techniques, he brought first the first two, who were Tafnut and Shu, who were the moisture in the air. And they were twins in this way, and they had this great love, and they also had this assignment to create things here in this world. But they also created children, and they gave birth to twins as well, who were known as Jeb and Nuit. And so many of us are connected to Mother Earth, right, and to Gaia. But in these stories, it was Brother Earth, who is Jeb, and Sister Sky, the heavens, Nuit. So there's so many beautiful expressions of Nut or Nuit in Egypt, in these temples, where she's arcing over the earth. She's just touching the earth with her fingertips and her toe tips, because she is the Milky Way. She is the great river of stars that ever embrace us here in this place. Yeah. And so here's Jeb as doing his job as the earth and just longing for the love of his twin. And she, forced to be above him, but not with him in this way. And Jehuti, it said, who you may know as Thoth, heard their pain and wanted them to be able to celebrate this great love they had for one another. And he knew how he could do this, because they were cursed to be separated for each of the calendar days. But at that time, there were 360 days a year. So one day for each degree, one day for the sun's travel. Things maybe were a little more harmonic in that sense, but the earth and the heavens were separated and could not share this love. So Jehuti came to the moon and challenged Moon at the ancient game of Senet, again, and again, and one, and, you know, double or nothing, that kind of trip, and increased it to the point where his rewards for his consecutive win streak was that moon would increase her brilliance, increase her brightness. And somehow, and this seems like weird science, but maybe we can theorize around it. Somehow the moon's increase in brightness brought 5 extra days to the calendar year. And so now there were 365. And in many of the old sacred calendars, you'll see this. You'll see 360 days, some with 12 months of 30, some with, as it was in Egypt, 10 months of 36 days, deacons, some with 36 months of 10 days, and then like these 5 extra days, which some have come to call like the days out of time, where debts are released and all sorts of like sacred days before the next calendar year starts. So anyway, these were 5 days outside of the curse, right? Because they were outside of the calendar. So in those 5 days, heaven and earth, Nuit and Jeb, come together to celebrate their love. And that resulted actually in twins, so Osiris and Isis and Seth and Nephthys, who we've spoken about in a previous episode of the StarryTelling thing here, were born, and so much after them. So I love that story. I love that story as a story, but it also makes me ask, well, how could a brighter moon bring 5 more days to Earth? Like, maybe that's not just a quote unquote myth, because people use that word in a strange way, right? People use that word to say, oh, it's just some fake story that they tell, right? Well, what I have found again and again and again is that the ancient wisdom was nicely tucked into, like a little sleeping child, into these stories, including, by the way, some of the great so-called fairy tales. Like Rapunzel is an amazing teaching around the way that Venus and Mars dance with one another. Amazing teaching. And I think that these are safe places for the information, the necessary information to maintain the course, while the human being who's expressing the tale also gets to add their own heart to it. Because that's a wonderful thing. And this is part of, and you'll see in chapter 1 of the course, where I say, look, if you want to learn the constellations, learn their stories. And if you want to learn their stories, you speak their stories, because their stories speak through you. And you will tell this tale in a different way than I do, or than Amanda does, or can, or whatever, because you are you, and you have your own expression of, what to use in old language, the language of the birds. And so as we're telling the tale, you find that, oh, there's like core notes in this song that have to be shared. But the way that I get between one and the next, just like a constellation, there's these stars, but how do we choose to draw the lines between them? Like, that's you. It's not only your, right as a human being to improvise and add your music to the song. It's your responsibility, I will say. So if you want to learn the heavens, learn these stories, and not just from the Greco-Roman tradition either, right? Reach into the many traditions. You know, where is your bloodline coming from? What about the land where you were born, or where you've chosen to live? Like, how did these ancient wisdom keepers see the sky? How did they share its stories? Yeah. So anyway, there's a sacred science in this thing. And one answer that I've come into is like, oh, well, we're told that the moon is getting further from Earth by astronomers today. And so that eventually we won't be able to celebrate the marriage of spirit and soul through the diamond ring that is shown during a total solar eclipse, that eventually the moon will never be big enough to completely occult the sun, that you'll always get the ring of fire, right? Mm-hmm. So this story seems to be speaking about quite an opposite thing, that somehow the moon got bigger and brighter, which I would suggest means closer. Now, I haven't done the math. I can think of a few equations where I would start, but if the moon was closer to Earth, the gravitational love between the two would be stronger, and this might actually increase the rate of Earth's spin. And if Earth was spinning faster, but orbiting the sun in the same amount of time, right? The spin is the day, the orbit is the year. So if the year was the same length, but we're spinning faster, we would have more days in a year. And so there's a chance that this story is actually about the moon getting pushed a little closer to us and kind of creating some weird distortion where we move out of what some call like the sacred year of 360 days. And we use it in some Hellenistic astrological techniques like aphasis, which modern classical astrologers have come to call zodiacal releasing, for example. There's a 360-day period that's used in those calculations, right? And you see it in the Bible and so many different sacred scriptures. And some would say, well, it's just the easy thing because 360 degrees in a circle and all that. But it actually maybe was that way at one time.
Wow.
And this story in some senses would convey like the why. Well, what would the why be? So the heavens and the earth can consummate their love, right? So now what would that mean? And then we can go on and on and on. But see, I like to take these stories. I like to go outside, look to the sky and contemplate them and see what comes through, because I think that there's more to a myth than just quote unquote myth alone.
Awesome story. Mo A in the chat actually guessed what you said. It could be the moon getting closer, making the earth spin faster, thus more rotations per revolution, maybe, which is exactly what you just said, right?
Yeah, Mo, have you contemplated that before, or did that just come through that quickly? I bow to your wisdom. We don't know that this is right, but yeah.
Well, it's
great
also
thinkers think alike.
Brett, you just went into something that I also find interesting. I don't know if we can explore it here, but I've been walking with this question a lot. And I actually asked I asked Omari Martin in our inner circle forecast, because a lot of the Libra full moon forecast was about the balance of, balance and harmony and peace. And, you have this beautiful picture of the earth with two doves on the sides. And my question was, do you believe that heaven, quote unquote, is actually meant to be experienced here on earth? Or is earth the plane where we kind of flex our muscles and do the work in order to experience heaven? And I don't mean like because we're such good boys and girls, we go to, that place in the sky because, we get judged good. Not that, but more dimensionally, like from a dimensional perspective. And so the 5-day thing is so interesting because it's like, so only on those 5 days, heaven and earth are actually together. But other than that, otherwise we're separate.
That's the 5D. D stands for days. It turns out it's not a dimension at all. I don't know. Baby. Heaven is a place on earth. That's what I heard on the radio when I was a kid to date myself.
Only 5 days a week. Only 5 days.
But they're good days. Yeah, hell is on earth too. And I think that that's something that being here in a body that ages, in a material space where, I love addressing time is an illusion. People always write that in my shares, because I'm always talking about time, because I'm a student of space and time. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, the sun doesn't set where you are. Or never seen a leaf fall from a tree, or no wrinkles on you, or right? Are you not aging like in this place? Time is damn real. You know what I mean? And we ought to celebrate that because here we are. And I don't think that that's going to lock you into some earth prison. Like that's this weird cosmology people somehow get locked into and have been for long times. And that's an option where you can just treat earth as if it is Tartarus and it is Hades, and it won't be until you die that you go somewhere. Well, if you really believe that, you wouldn't be alive anymore, right? If you believe that in your heart, right? But no, the heart's here because there can be hearts here, because that's like a material thing, and there's something about incarnating in a vessel with blood running through its veins that gives spirit an opportunity through this reflection called soul to understand more, right? So geometry, which we hear me speak about a lot because it is a sister science of astronomy, like they say, when you put the compass in your hand, you become God. which is this really kind of, charged statement and super blasphemous for many, right? But I can't even pronounce that word, so I guess I'm cool. But, like the reason why I would say is because as you engage with the geometry, you are studying creation through the act of creating. Yeah, I mean, there's sweeping a compass, or you could, have a child, and that's another level of this if you're doing this consciously. But to do this consciously, we also see, like, if I drew these flower of life patterns, it doesn't look this perfect because I've got an actual pin and lead in my compass, and what you learn in that craft is that imperfection is part of the perfection, right? So why don't we have perfect circles? Why doesn't the sun spend exactly 30 days in every sign and new moon on the first day of that perfect month? And because it's not love. Like, love isn't circular, it's elliptical. I mean, there are times when it's fast and there's times when it's slow, I'm reading something that says I'm frozen, which I'm freaking out about because
you're not frozen to me. I don't know if you're frozen to the rest of. I think if you were frozen for them, you'd be frozen for me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to, so Mo, maybe to get us back our feet on the ground, if you're still listening, will you share your sun, moon, and rising sign and where on the earth you were born? Because we can get another image of a moment of earth. To Marcus says I look pretty thawed out. Cool. Thanks. The water's running. Yeah, and anyway, I'm just I literally am still in fanboy space at a volcano that's currently blowing up in Iceland.
I'm so glad that you brought that back because I wanted you to pause a moment, and maybe everybody else caught it, but when you were able to tell what time of day she was born, because she was Leo rising with a Capricorn sun and a Taurus moon. And you said because she's Leo rising, Aquarius is on the descendant, but I'm still wait, how do we know what time of day she was born?
Right. So you got to know your polarities, right? So you've got this, it feels like, Amanda, and of course you're looking from the other side, being Aquarius rising yourself, right? So if Aquarius is rising, Leo is setting. If Leo is rising, Aquarius is setting. Well, what's the sign before Aquarius?
Capricorn.
So what's the sign that sets before Aquarius?
Capricorn.
You're right, right? So if she has a Capricorn sun and Aquarius is setting, well, the sun has already set because Capricorn sets before Aquarius.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That was a big aha by you right then, by the way, Amanda. That just set you 2 levels up where you're really going to start being able to do this thing. So when we do this work, and thank you, Mo, for playing, because I just saw your answers came in that Sagittarius sun, Aries moon, and Cancer rising. But she also says born in New York City in a snowstorm. So it looked like Earth and the waters of Earth raining from the heavens. It looked like snow, which is a beautiful thing too, right? So I just want to add a little personal quip about that. I lived in Seattle for so long when I was coming into the Sky Nerd, or I shouldn't even call it that, like Sky Guy, Sky being, star student. And it's really tricky. Like the cloud in Seattle will just eat the sky for weeks at a time. Sometimes, and I've shared this here before, you just get one little hole and one star shines through. And those were really crucial training moments for me because first of all, I'm so desperate just to see one star. It's please, I can't even see the sun. Oh gosh, who are you? And now I don't have these constellations to say, oh, okay, well, you're Arcturus because I can follow the arc of the Big Dipper to Arcturus, as everybody knows, or you will when you take the course, right? So no, all I get to see is Arcturus with no reference. Now I could wave my iPhone around, but a lot of this is put that thing away and just receive that star's song. Every star has its own song. Every star literally has its own frequency, its own vibe. You can see it. You can meet them. They speak, And so this was training for me to meet like not a star through constellational work, which is a great way to be, but it was like, no, I'm only meeting one star. So even in the snowstorm of Mosby coming, maybe there was one little hole in the cloud and one special star was saying hello. But let's pretend it was clear for the sake of this thing. And whoever, I'm guessing it was an
I did that. I put
You
sun,
did that?
Mo's Sag Sun, Aries Moon, Cancer Rising on the screen. Okay, can we play the little game and figure out what
Yeah, sure. Wait, so does everybody get to see that big thing?
Everybody can see
Oh my
them.
gosh.
As much as we want.
Technology. Right. Okay, cool. So start with the sun. And gosh, please don't only use the sun astrology, please. Like people even forget that houses and signs are different things because they've been so sun sign astrologized, right? So that's a huge part of this course. It's like, wait a second, the chart goes both ways, friends. Like we're going to really dispel one of the most significant mind prisons of modern astrology. And I don't mean to say that in some offensive way, but there's this bad habit that's forming in astrology these days, which is basically a result of sun-centeredism to the point where it's hard to believe that we haven't all turned into plasma because we're so close to the sun in astrology now. What about the moon? Yet, again, the sun is the only one that will tell you the season. Okay, and this is the gift of sun sign astrology. We don't need a rising sign. We don't need a thinking rising sign. We don't need a moon sign. All we need is the sun and the place of birth to have some idea of what's going on.
Okay,
so we hear New
York. Yeah.
We hear New York and Sagittarius. Amanda, you lived in New York.
It's very cold in Sagittarius season.
Yeah, yes. You're hearing some Christmas jingles out and about. Right? Yes. They might be setting up the old Apple in Times Square already, or at least that big old tree, and people are ice skating in front of it, and there is snow, and it is cold. And You're not outside staring at the sky, you're inside staring at the why do I live here again sometimes. Anyway, so it's not unlikely that we're going to have a snowstorm. Now, did the Aries moon tell me that? No. Did the Cancer rising tell me that? No. Absolutely not. The only way I can get that information is Sagittarius sun and having some idea about New York. And roll of the dice. More likely to be snowing than it is in June in New York, that's for sure. But we don't know. So Mo, it's cool that you know that. That's probably not on the birth certificate or on the chart that they drew up for you in the moment of your becoming. That's likely an awesome parent, right? Who remembers the story and shares it in these starry stories, including those of ours, so important. So now, the time of day. Okay, so Cancer's rising. Amanda, what is setting when Cancer's rising? Is it okay if I put you on the spot?
Yeah. If I don't get the answer right, then I'll just be a little embarrassed. But it's Capricorn.
Genius, so good. You know what I mean? Like, I love watching you become an astrologer through helping astrologers spread the word. And I'm seeing it happen like regularly. It's cool. And helping many, many people become astrologers. So I'm crying again. Okay, so what's the sign before Capricorn?
Sagittarius.
What sign rises before Capricorn?
What size? Oh, Aquarius. Wait.
No, let's try it again. What's the sign before Capricorn? Don't look at it. Don't see it in your head. Sagittarius.
Yeah.
So what sign rises before Capricorn?
Sagittarius.
There you go. What sign reaches its height at the midheaven before Capricorn does? What? Sagittarius. What sign sets before Capricorn? Sagittarius. What sign hits the IC before Capricorn? And many people will be like, no, that's backwards. Because Sagittarius is the 9th and Capricorn's the 10th. And the ascendant's this way, 10, 11, 12. No, the Earth, the spinning sky rises in the east and sets in the west. And this is actually, it's called a primary motion. We're really totally losing it in our astrology today. So I'm so much of this course, like I'm just starting to create chapter 2, the cross of matter. It's bringing that back. It is about the primary motion. Okay, so Sagittarius sun, Capricorn descendant. So Sagittarius set before Capricorn. So now we can't say houses like which Placidus house or Porphyry house or any of that, but we can say whole sign for sure that if Capricorn's the 7th, Sagittarius is the 6th.
Right. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, getting that. All right. So
now it's different than it is in Iceland because New York's not as far north, right?
Right.
The woman I was speaking, so it's interesting we get another 6th house sun. And it's cool to see because so many people in the course study group are sharing their sun, moon, and rising sign. There's a lot like you who have a 12th sign sun. And it's like, wow, that's like, there's this hidden synastry in that way. It's not to be the same signs, but there's this kind of hidden synastry with Amanda, right? So that's interesting. We're seeing some signs repeat. We're seeing some of these things though, right?
Okay, so now we know, because we know Sagittarius comes before Capricorn, and it's a Sagittarius sun. Because we know Cancer's rising, we know Capricorn's on the descendant. So that's 7th house. So that means we know Sagittarius is in the 6th house.
Exactly, because so this is an important thing. Am I the
only one having an aha moment? Is everybody else? Yeah, we got that years ago.
This is a really important thing. If Sag is before Capricorn, that means Sag rises before Capricorn, reaches before Capricorn, rests before Capricorn, roots before Capricorn. And those are the words I use: rise, reach, rest, and root for the astrological angles, right, of the ascendant, midheaven, descendant, and IC. So if Capricorn's on the descendant, which of course has to be if Cancer's rising, then Sagittarius, which sets the sign before Capricorn, is the 6th sign. Okay. Now, Cancer rising charts, especially in New York, are typically not going to have an Aries midheaven. They're typically going to have a, let me do this right, a Pisces midheaven. You can go either way there. And so once we get into quadrant systems and Placidus and Porphyry and that kind of thing, and I'll be transmitting a little bit of that in level 1 of the Sacred Astronomy, but some of that's going to be level 2.
Oh, wait. So if it's 6th house, then we know that it's right after sunset, correct?
Yes. So now we have the season of the year, Sagittarius in New York, snowstorm and ice skates at the big tree in Central, and now we have the season of the day, right? Which I would say is also the winter of the day, or kind of the winter of the day, like autumn, winter. It's very much kind of the Sagittarius zone of the day. And I want to be careful there because there's many ways to look at that. But regardless, we can see this. It's cold at this time of year and the sun's not up. It's just set. People are ice skating home to get close to that heater, in New York. And it's that loud thing because it's old, it's like the radiator or whatever. And it's like clank, clank, and you're staying warm. Okay. So all that's going on, right? And so that just brings us down to earth.
Right.
Now it's not just some symbol on a chart, which is cool. It has so much to say. It doesn't just, what is your ascendant? There's a gazillion different, it's what you look like. People will say, okay, right? But no, it's like, this is letting me know in the sun ascendant relationship, the season of the day. All right. Now let's bring in the moon. And before we even put the moon in a house or anything like that, how does Aries moon or Diana deliver Sagittarius sun or Apollo to Earth? Diana delivered Apollo's birth. How does the Aries moon reflect Sagittarius light? So this, for some people, it's going to be healthy to count on your fingers, and you can go Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. Oh, Aries is the 5th of Sagittarius. For you all that have been after this for a bit, of course it's a trine because fire signs, same elements, trine one another. Is it the waxing trine? Yes, because Aries is not yet to Gemini, which is the sign opposite Sag. So if we have a Sag sun and a Gemini moon, now that's a full moon. So any sign between Sag and Gemini in the zodiacal order, which is Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus, that's the waxing weeks of the lunation. You with me?
Yes-ish.
And so one of the few
I'm
things,
like,
like in chapter 4 of this course, we're really going to work with learning how to see the aspects simply in the shape of the moon's smile.
that's the
Amanda,
coolest.
will you move your head just a little bit to your right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So the panel that is between the flowers and the full moon, that waxing gibbous, as it looks in New York, because that's the northern hemisphere view of a waxing gibbous moon. That's what the moon looked like when Mo was born.
Wow. So
actually, it looked like snow, right?
Yeah, so close to the full moon, because which signs are telling you that?
So sun is in Sagittarius, and then we go, okay, so that would be, new moon would be in Sagittarius.
Right.
Okay, and then here's Capricorn, we're waxing away. Aquarius, Pisces is the square.
Okay.
Mutable to mutable is a square, and that's the waxing half moon, and now we're to Aries. And that's, that's the waxing gibbous moon. It's beautiful. After that weird edgy thing that in Hawaii, they call the Olis, the moon shouldn't have a straight line. It's like, wait, what? Because she's such a curvy being. And then, gibbous comes, the trine comes, and you got bubble. In some traditions, they call it like the moon with the curve on both sides, which I love so much, and it really has that kind of cosmic egg shape. It's a beautiful thing, the trine. And you can feel it in your body. Like the square feels kind of difficult if I point one arm to the sun and one arm to the moon, as I do, to help me like feel these aspects in my body. Now, if I get into the trine, there's more ballet in it. You see, I'm like literally, like if I have my hands at a right angle, it's like, it doesn't feel natural. It feels harsh. It feels hard. It like literally does. And
Wow.
I'll show in the course, from Earth's point of view, this is the moon and the sun moving in perpendicular directions from one another. So there's a little bit like the blind side crashes there too. I mean, all the love to folks born at half moons. I'm not saying that's bad, okay? I'm just saying that this is why we see tension in the astrological square. You can feel it in your body. When you get into the trine, it's like Swan Lake time. Like literally things like, just everybody hold this pose. Yeah, and go from the square, right? So you have one arm horizontal and one arm vertical pointing to the top of the sky, and you'll feel some tension.
Yeah.
Like, Amanda, you're like a little like,
I look awkward. Yeah.
Even, right? And now let your arm that's pointing up to the sky move a little further. Oh, feel that release?
Do you all feel that? Yes.
Do you feel the grace in it?
Yes, and Brett, in ballet, I don't remember which, is it fourth position? This is an arm position, and this would never be an arm position, but this actually is. I mean, to be more curved, but yes.
Yeah.
Hey, wait.
So the ancients called this the ballet moon, of course. But anyway, so look, now do that again, Amanda. Go to the square, okay? And now go to the trine, open it up. Now, what you're going to do, because we're going to treat I guess it's your left arm that's at the horizon.
Yeah.
You're going to just fix this angle in your body. Now bring both of them towards your left, so that the sun is sinking down below the ground and the moon follows along with it. Okay, try to do it while keeping your body straight. Just move your arms like that. Okay, so that's where the moon was. Because the sun, we're in this phase, okay? But the sun had set and the moon follows. So
maybe even more accurately this way for me. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
So now we know that there is a big, bright moon, not quite full, but a big waxing gibbous moon on high. And if you know something about the altitudes of the signs, and you will after you take level 1 of the Sacred Astronomy transmissions, you'll know that regardless of whether you're in New York or northern or southern hemisphere, Aries is a medium high constellation, and more importantly, because signs and constellations are very different things, Aries is the medium high sign. So it's not a moon like crazy high in the sky, which in New York is like Gemini and Cancer moons. It's a big, beautiful moon, like really high in the sky, Not super low, not super high, but it's there and hidden by snow. And with New York, that's a roll of the dice.
So I can really see how understanding these things would then add or lend itself to the poetry of the reading, right? To the artistry of the reading, to the storytelling elements of the reading, because there's so much that we're gleaning from just these 3 points on the chart. I mean,
right. Now, what does Venus add to that?
oh,
Right, because so when the sun is down, the stars come to play. Was Venus an evening star? Was she in the 7th house? You know, with everybody reporting a UFO who's not in the know. You know, Venus is the most reported unidentified flying object, right? Because you've seen Venus. It's like, oh, damn, right? It's like, they're coming for me. It's like, no, it's Venus. And maybe she is, and that's a good thing, right? But, you know, so again, we were talking about this last time, and we got into this world a little bit, like how much does visibility matter? Yes and no. It's a weird grammatical response to that question. But, you know, I mean, Pluto is like for real. And I'm starting to work with Haumea and Maki Maki and Eris and the other Sedna and the other so-called dwarf planets, Quaoar, you know. But also, I can't do this with where Pluto is in your chart. I also can't do it with where Jupiter is. I can do this with the sun and the moon and the rising sign. Right. So when I you know, I used to hear that and I was like, oh, that's like junior varsity astrology, people like sun, moon, and rising. No, the more I'm out on Earth, it's like, yeah, that's it. And what is the rising sign? Earth. Earth itself. Okay, now you need both the ascendant degree and the midheaven degree for me to place you in the moment of your birth, which is reflected by the very unique, will never repeat sacred geometry, okay, of the planets in the moment of your birth. But we measure where the planets are in the signs and their alignments to one another from the center of the earth, okay? What makes you you is not only that moment of time, but the particular place where you were born. Now we get planets in the houses, which are defined from where? The ascendant. So I need the ascendant and the midheaven degrees because New York has the same midheaven as it is like, I don't know, somewhere due north, Buffalo. But they will have different ascendants. There is a whole line around the earth, half of the earth, that has the exact same ascendant degree as Mo does too, but none of them will have the same midheaven. So truthfully, I need both of those angles of the cross of matter to understand exactly where in space somebody was born in this particular time. But why do I put my focus and call the rising sign Earth? It is the horoscopos in the old language. And why is the rising sign ascending? Because literally, if we're right about a spinning globe, because Earth is falling in that direction, just as we descend into matter to lift the heavens up. And suddenly I'm just like starting to teach the lessons of chapter 2 during a podcast episode, which is good for me because these are many of the things that I'm like bringing in and learning, like seeing how I want to share them, what animations I want to create to reflect this. And
well, it's good, Brett. It's good because it gives us a taste of what's inside, and it's bringing it to life in a different way. And it's really fun to be practicing these things with you and all of you listening and watching too. It's because we're all starting to get it. And I can see how much more confidence this would bring to your practice because you're no longer, again, it's that whole thing where you're no longer just like, okay, here's this thing over here telling me this. Here's this sky. Like, I'm not quite sure how it's reflected there, but I know it's that, you know? And how do these things come together and then feeling all uncomfortable when you don't know, which I can really speak from experience that happens.
Me too. You know, yeah. I mean, and that's important, I think, as astrologers as well. Like a lot of times it's tempting to floss the crystal ball and show somebody how much you know about their soul and their life and the date of their divorce and, you know, like all of that work. But you gain so much more trust, I find, with, you know what, I don't know that.
Right.
And I think that it's something I will learn, but truthfully, it sounds to me like you know more about that than I do. It hasn't been part of my study yet. And it's okay to not know. That is like that shame. We've talked about this many times. That blocks the mysteries. The guilt and the shame that I'm supposed to know it all. I'm supposed to be a master. I mean, like this conversation I had just before we got on, I was like, literally, look, I just got completely like volcanoed out of my astrologer being, because I now know like which band you've played in. Do you know how many times I have dreamed to this music? You don't, but oh my golly, like I can't do astrology right now. I'm sorry, like I can give you your money back and let's connect next week. It's like that was it. She just kind of giggled and it was like, cool. Because we have to remember, really importantly, we are human beings, and these symbols and that language of symbols, which is real and it's beautiful. But if somebody say, okay, well, this is going to come through as like really deep challenges in relationships. Like, okay, why? Why? Because the book said so. Oh, okay. Oh, but because my teacher said so and I trust him. Oh, and because the teacher said, the book said, I read the book. And then other books, and it's been around for a long time. So even though these other people would disagree, this is like my thread of astrology. Great. And most importantly, I've seen it again and again and again when I do readings, right? So much of our work as astrologers is confirmed when we are looking at other charts. Now, people do this with famous people charts. Okay, what do you know about them? So I mean, I can look at a very special chart and it's like, oh my God, why didn't he win the Emmy on that day? No, that was the day he proposed, and we don't know. Like I don't know these people. I barely know myself. So, like my chart is always my major, chart example in my life, and then people close to, and then the people that I have the honor to sit with and ask these intimate questions of. And it's amazing. I like starry stories. It's amazing the things that I'm hearing from amazing people where it's just like, damn, the humanity of it all. Well, if I want to be a mirror for humanity, let me learn to see what the chart looks like on Earth. And so much of what I'm after is not just confirming these things that I've learned, in experience, which I certainly do, and I have been, humbled through this and changed my mind and changed the rules. But so much of what I'm after is learning this through the sky. Because, we suggest, like we did a fun talk with you, Amanda, some time ago, we being me and my dear brother and mentor, Gary Caton, where the comet was out. It's like as if we didn't have enough nuts in 2020, suddenly a comet shows up in the sky. And we're like, what did the astrologers say? And you flip through the pages until your fingertips are paper cut, and we have no idea, right? So who am I going to ask? I'll tell you who, the comet. And so Gary too, right? Like, and any of these star seekers, and hopefully everyone, you wake up before the sun, if the comet is, and you go out there and you bring some blankets and you bring some hot tea and some snacks, because who knows what's going to happen with time when you engage with the mysteries of space, and you go somewhere safe, because it's scary out there sometimes, which is a tale I was going to share today, but we don't have time. So another time after the course. But you go out there and you're in your warms and you're ready, and you sit there and you say, Comet, I am Brett. I hear they call you Neo-wise. I heard you were discovered by a robot. That seems trippy to me. What do you think about that? And again, I don't expect to hear the Comet say like, well, Brett, let me, and show like subtitles in the clouds. No. I sit there and I have these strange thoughts, or, a mockingbird, or the ducks, right? Or a squirrel runs by in the middle of the night. It's like, shouldn't you be sleeping? So no, that squirrel with its bushy tail is that comet sending me a message. Look to the tree that it ran to, right? So this is the language of the birds. And this is what most of us will teach and believe was the origins of our craft. And by the way, the origins of astronomy was astrologers developing language and tools and understanding to know more about how The heavenly happenings are influencing our energetic experience as earthlings. And many astronomers, even the rationalists, at least understand that that was the origins of their science. They sadly now believe that, well, now we got smart, and so we've separated from that archaic, superstitious nonsense. I don't know. But so our assumption as astrologers is that, oh, people are just looking at the sky and they're like, yeah, when the moon does this, people go crazy and my wife leaves me. And so that's what the moon there means, right? Well, how many years, right? So I would suggest that it's a much faster route to the correspondences of the astronomical heavenly happenings by getting out there, back on the grass, eyes wide, heart open, mind even more so, or completely blown, and saying, moon, who are you and what do you do? And learning to have no expectations for what comes in, and also learning to trust yourself, because you are at least half of that conversation, maybe even more so. So the song comes in, the stranger walks by saying the weirdest thing, you see something in the dream, the next day that person you haven't spoken to forever calls and says just the trippiest thing. Yeah, that's how the comet's talking to you. And if you can trust that and hold that in a sacred, loving way, yeah, now that comet speaks through you if you're willing to share its bushy, strange comet tail.
Nice. Wow, Brett, thank you so much. This has really taken a different direction than we anticipated, but I think it's been perfect and amazing and so fun to share it with everybody here. There was a question that came in that I did have on the screen for a while.
I saw it. Yeah. So it was, if I'm in the UK and don't have a phone app, is this course for me? Heck yeah. This course is not a phone app course. I just recorded yesterday a bonus of how to use free Stellarium software, and which is a computer thing, and it's cool. And I needed to convey some of the big screen stuff through the little screen. It's been such a blessing to me. I just sent them a huge donation yesterday, the biggest one I have yet, because I am so blessed by these teachers and these astronomers who get this data for us, you know? Like, there is so much that we do, which is completely dependent upon the passions of other people, some of them even astrologer haters, but who are giving us the things that we need to heal and feel and know and grow. And it's right for me to take a moment and think about what I need to do what I need, and to thank people whose names I will never know that allow me to operate, you know, in this way.
You're talking about Stellarium?
In that case, it was Stellarium, but, you know, like Jet Propulsion's laboratory, the Swiss ephemeris, you know, like we're getting information from a lot of people and we take it for granted because we push a thing and the lights come on, we push a button and a chart comes up, right? Well, so what I'm about is like, no, let's go outside. That's the chart. So I know we're out of time, Amanda, but I want to say this thing. I was up, I guess it was this morning time. It was at 2:11 a.m. And I've been recording these backyard astronomy videos, and I've got one at like 9 p.m. and I've got a couple at like 4 or 5 a.m. And so it was 2 a.m. and I'm like, I should really go out there and get something in the middle because the sky is going to look different than it did, you know. But then it's like, no, it's 2. You're going to get sick if you don't catch some sleep. Don't be an idiot. It happens, you know. And then I was like, okay, no, there will be no sleep right now, ever. And it's not just this responsibility that I have to the students, which is a burning energy in me. And I try not to have that be a guilt force, but a love force, right? But no, there's something out there that I got to go see, or I will never sleep again. So I go outside and there's the moon, who's completely aligned to the same place of space, a little bit above where the sun was when I was born. Now, sometimes I'm tracking charts, like, you know, I'm writing transits daily and, you know, not right now. Right now, I'm like teaching astronomy. So I've been out like, hey, this is the lion. This is the priestess. That star is 24 Libra. Oh, and that star is 10 Libra. Look, the moon's right between them. 16 Libra. Did you see how I didn't need a chart to know where the moon is? Because the sky. The chart is the map of the sky. The sky is the chart, right? So I'm out there this morning and I'm like, oh, that's why the moon's with my sun. So let me just sit. I actually lay down on this lounge chair, and it's too cold to go to sleep. And I was just like, oh, okay, receiving that, whatever that is. I have no idea. And then grab the camera and like shoot 15 minutes for the students if they want to engage with the bonus material, get it up on YouTube, go back to sleep. And then I slept soundly, and I have no idea what happened, right? But I woke up this morning now knowing with clarity how I want to address the first lesson of the second chapter, the cross of matter, and how it was going to, demand that my love, this saxophone from Paris, France in 1968 come out of its case, and it's been too long. And so, and I got to learn a song and play some music, and then suddenly I'm speaking to a Leo rising musician who's from a band that I love. And I don't think of that as what people call coincidence. I think of that as coincidence, and it has a meaning. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So anyway, this is why I call this sacred astronomy. It's not like nerd stuff. We're learning to be human beings by engaging with and even measuring the sky.
And what you're describing is such a magical existence. When you say yes in the middle of the night and you get out of bed and you're there with the stars, and then the way everything unfolded for you today, it was like magical thing after magical thing after magical thing. And like you said, to think that it's totally removed from the fact that you actually said yes in the middle of the night to go out and be under the sky. I mean, you can say maybe that's just a coincidence. I'm doing my fingers for those listening on the podcast. But yeah, coincidence. Perfect. Okay. So Paula's asking, hi, I'm in Hong Kong. Do you think I can follow the course?
Totally. I mean, I am sharing in English, although it will be transcribed, and certainly you write in good English. My only concern would be a language barrier, certainly not a sky barrier. You are under the same stars as I, right? You're actually more in Hong Kong, you're 20-something degrees north of the equator, 22. Your stars are just like Amanda's, just before or after, depending on where you are in the spinning Earth, right? I'm at 38 degrees north latitude. My stars are the same stars as Athens, Greece, just a little bit later or earlier as the world spins. So a lot of the backyard astronomy stuff is going to be from my backyard. And I actually was just thinking this morning, what I need to do is turn around and flip the camera upside down, and I will at least be able to show the southern hemisphere folks how these constellations appear in their sky. And I will do that. But I'm also like, call to all students, if you got a good camera, like with a real lens, I'm not talking, phone here. I would love to have a few backyard astronomy videos shot from your location. We can really show how our experience of the heavens is different in different places on the Earth, which is so important. It teaches so much about what this world is and what a soul is, okay? But whether you're in the UK or in Hong Kong or in Adelaide, Australia, or Buenos Aires or whatever, yes, this course will absolutely work. And some of this, we're gonna ask for you to contribute your own experience of the heavens. And it doesn't have to be a beautiful picture or a clear video or whatever. Like, we will feel your energy, because this is Astrology Hub. This is a circle. This is why, I told Anna, I was like, hey, I really want a study group. She's like, you're mad. There's going to be too many people. You're not going to keep up. It's like, well, even when I can't, they will keep up with one another. Like, that's the point of this thing. This is us being in Earth, holding hands around the world, being under the same stars, or in some cases, different views of the same stars, or stars that I can't see, or I have some you can't see. We now tie together the entire Earth in the celebration of her eternal marriage with the heavens. Yeah, and we are meant to be living vows. And it is my devotion to further facilitate that connection for each and everyone who I have the honor of sharing some of what I'm learning, not from people, although also from some wonderful people, but also especially from the heavens and from the Earth. That's the point of this thing, and it will work wherever you are. Even if you're on Mars, most of the sharings here will happen. If you're on Mars, like, I celebrate the amazement of your internet connection too.
Oh my gosh, yes. And did you the pictures from Mars? I was It was breathtaking.
A lot of them are fake, by the way.
Really?
Sadly.
Really?
Yeah.
No. But there was like the video that you could see of the landscape and everything that's fake.
The one that has like the Milky Way popping and things. It's like there were some that were literally from Stellarium, but yeah, we just sent like the best cameras yet. Like not quite as good as most of your cell phones, by the way. But to Mars, we're going to start seeing some really cool things. And you know, that's opening, I would suggest, another world of astrology. What is Martian astrology? And I will say that the zodiac most astrologers use when they cast a Mars chart, some of the softwares will let us do, it's not the right zodiac. They're using Earth's zodiac for the sun. They're using Earth's zodiac for Mars, for Saturn, whatever. Like all the planets have their own zodiacs. But, you know, what if you were born on Mars? What is Earth? Right? What is the symbol called Earth in the zodiac for Mars? What is Earth retrograde on Mars? What is, you know, Venus square Earth on Mars? And look, whatever it is, you're part of it. And the more that we engage with the mysteries from Earth, the more that we are contributing to what Earth's doing in the heavens.
Brett, I just want to address this question that came in from Facebook user. I don't have your name here, but it says, what time of day is the course? I have another class going.
Okay, so on one level, it's whatever time of day you want to make it, because we have created this. I am creating this as a study at home, you know, at your own pace thing. Although the intention is that you get through a week's class in a week so you can kind of keep up and stay at pace and be involved in the study group and all that. The watch parties, if you would like to watch us together with peers, I believe are scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. So we release the first 7 lessons, the first chapter of videos on this Thursday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. So we'll be that tarot card with like stepping off the cliff into the heavens. And then the first gathering will be on April 7th, and I believe it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We'll have like 2.5 or 3 hours devoted for a watch party where I would just play the 7 lessons back to back to back for people who would rather watch them together or watch them again together. And then we'll take a break. I'm just speaking to a friend about maybe coming and bringing some live music during break time to help us be in the juice, in the body, right? And then we'll go into a 2-hour question and answer session, and that's all going to happen on Wednesday. Grace, really wonderful question. How difficult will it be for Southern Hemisphere people? Not at all. I am just right now getting into, there's like literally lesson 2 of chapter 2 is the celestial poles and the difference between the northern and the southern hemisphere experience, which, by the way, proves that the Earth is not flat. Okay, so anyway, I'm still sitting with, do I want to teach, how much southern hemisphere do I want to teach in the core curriculum? Because it adds literally in many of the lessons twice as much information and can really get people's heads spinning. Because we're already getting our head spinning because we're literally talking about the spinning of the sky, which spins in the other direction if you're looking south than it is if you're looking north. So I'm still sitting with, because I want everybody to know all of that, but I've seen it like take students too far out, and our charts are designed on the northern hemisphere experience, which I'm excited for southern hemisphere folks to really connect to, because you got to flip it around for it to reflect your southern hemisphere experience of the sky. And I'll show you how to do that. So I think what I'm doing is I'm going to create like mostly northern hemisphere focused content, and when necessary have a full on southern hemisphere version of the lesson, because I certainly wanted to like speak for the entire globe. And then I do have some photos that I've taken from Australia and whatnot, but I really am hoping that I can get some folks who have good gear. And by the way, if you're taking the course and you're in the southern hemisphere and you've got a good camera, you know, it sees a lot of light and you're willing to shoot some video, please reach out to me, gb@geminibrett.com. Twin T's, Gemini T's, okay? Brett with 2 T's. You see it here. So gb@geminibrett.com. I would love to hear from you and we can work something out, because I really do want to have some southern hemisphere images, some equator images, some Hawaii images. whatever, so people can see that, oh, this is different. Things are lower where I live, or higher, or upside down from what that cat sees, or whatever. So I am making the course as applicable as I can for anybody on Earth. A different story if you live north of the Arctic Circle or south of the Antarctic Circle, but there's not many folks in those realms. And wherever you are, most of the course content is not going to be hemispheric anyway. And when it is, I will definitely be adding the Southern Hemisphere point of view.
Perfect. All right. Great questions, you guys. Thank you for sending those in. If you're listening to this later, if you didn't catch it live and you're listening to the recording, please continue to send in your questions. Brett and I and our team will continue to answer questions. And we would love to see you in class on Thursday. And I know we're going to see a lot of you there. So for those of you interested, just go to astrologyhub.com/sacred astronomy. Did you see I added in the sacred there for you?
Thank you.
And Brett, anything you want to say just to close us out here?
Yeah, because we are closing down the StarryTelling podcast here during the course of the course. So it's been really such a blessing to connect with you every Tuesday. Man, I'm actually going to miss it, but I'm going to be speaking so much stars for the folks in the course that, like, if you've been enjoying this podcast, you're going to love this course. It's going to be this times 7, basically. And then as soon as the course is complete in mid-May, the StarryTelling podcast will return to Astrology Hub space. And I look forward to seeing what it is after I've been educated through teaching, which is always like, just as telling the story helps you understand the story, teaching the information helps you learn the information in a way that you never could before. So that being said, whoever signs up for this course, or even people who are blessing us with the presence of your presence here, I honor this opportunity to connect with your heart wherever you are in time and space. You inform me in your celebration of this marriage of heaven and earth, and in our shared passion for understanding just what in the heavens is going on here. And we can't find it here because, ooh, baby, heaven is a place on earth.
Oh, good questions continue to come in. Deborah's asking, will it be taught more than once?
Let me just address that. Sorry, and I'll try to be shorter. Yes, first of all, it is being created as a web course. So even after this live bit, you will be able to download. Now, there won't be live Q&As, but you will be able to see recordings of questions and answers that are recorded during the course of these 6 weeks to come. And very similar questions come up regarding this course content because, frankly, some of it's confusing, and I'm learning better ways to teach it through the questions, which are like the greatest blessing as a teacher. However, and I still need to talk to somebody high up at Astrology Hub if I could find somebody. I would love to be able to offer like a live version of this level 1 curriculum annually, and maybe even more. There will also be a level 2 curriculum for folks who want to take it further. So yeah, this, if you can't take it now, it will be available later, and hopefully will also be available in this very similar kind of live context for the study group and all that down the road. And by the way, I also need to speak to the high ups about this too, but I want to try to find a way to keep this study group happening even after the course is done, so people can share their findings and check in. We'll be under different stars at night, in a few months from now. So this, again, I can't teach it all to you in a day. I can't teach it all to you in 6 weeks either. What I can give you is more keys to add to your collection that will unlock the mystery of the heavens, so you can be informed directly and more deeply connected to your own personal astrology.
Brilliant. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We've loved doing this StarryTelling podcast with you for the last few months. We started in February. No, we started on my birthday, right? Or
yeah, January.
The week before my birthday. So it was January 12th. So we've been doing this since January, and we will see you when we return after Sacred Astronomy for Astrologers is complete. So that's a 6-week journey. So we'll be back in 7 weeks from now.
Oh, wait, one more celebration, Amanda. You did amazingly well today with our sun, moon, and earth.
I'm learning something
practice.
from you. You're a
All
great
right.
teacher. I mean, seriously,
Thank
this
you.
has been just sitting and listening and absorbing and trying to figure it out week after week. And you're an incredible teacher. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And as you know, because I know you've seen during these weeks, when you now then go see it in the sky, it is yours and it will be yours forever. So these are just offerings of keys that can unlock your temple, not mine. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Amanda. And thanks so much, everybody, for bringing your energy to this thing. Be well, and we'll see you in space.
See you in space. Thanks, everybody.